Hey guys, I'm back again and I'm here to do a recommendations video for Nonfiction November. Now, we're almost middle of the road of November, so I thought why not come back and, give you some ideas if you haven't yet picked up something for Nonfiction November and you're looking for something maybe a little different. So, I must admit, I don't gravitate naturally towards nonfiction. I'm a fiction girl. I mean, it is what it is. But I have to admit that every time I have read nonfiction, I have been very lucky to have chosen nonfiction novels that I felt like they jived really well with my reading taste. So I can say that I have been extremely lucky. I've never picked up a nonfiction that I was just like, Lord Jesus, take the wheel. That's never happened. So I'm going to recommend some that I feel like I haven't seen very many people talk about, that I feel it's worth the effort of you going and picking it up. Okay, let's get started. So first book on my list is What My Mother and I Don't Talk About. 15 Writers Break the Silence. This was edited by Michelle Philgate. Now, I didn't review this book when I finished it, but I absolutely enjoyed this book thoroughly. It has some very interesting stories in here that kind of, the kind of stories where you read them and they kind of like go up the back of your neck, like you're like, what the hell? There's some that are in here like this. But I found it extremely interesting, and then it started to make me think about what I didn't talk to my mother about, or should I say what she didn't talk to me about. And yeah, it's just really edifying. And I think if you read this, it will do the same to you. You'll start thinking about like, what are some of the things that you can imagine your mother hasn't, talked to you about, or that you haven't spoken to her about. It's just really good. And there's even one in here by Bernice L. McFadden. But Lord Jesus, that story made me hot mad. That's all I'm going to say. But very good read, and it's quite short. It's not even 300 pages. 258 pages. This one, I mean, I don't know why people haven't picked this one up. Maybe because it's an essay collection and people don't seem to be gravitating towards essay collections. But yeah, this one is really good. I say pick this one up. Okay, next one I want to recommend is Becoming Nigerian, a guide, L. Nathan John. Now, this one is well worth the read. I talked about it in my wrap-up, my last wrap-up from summer. And yeah, comedic, a nice, easy read, and very, very entertaining. That's all I have to say. So definitely pick this one up. Okay, next book I have on my list is He Never Came Home, Interviews, Stories, and Essays from Daughters on Life Without Their Fathers. This one was edited by Regina R. Robertson. I love me some Regina R. Robertson. I hope she puts another collection together of some sort. This one I found, it spoke to me personally because I grew up without my father. So I, gravitated, easily towards this one. It is a very powerful, poignant read. Some of the stories that are related are heartbreaking, really, really heartbreaking. But I think it puts a perspective on the idea of growing up with only one parent, your mother. And it does go through a lot of different types of cases of living without the father. So you can have people that have literally they were brought up with their father up to a certain age, and then the father left and they never had contact with them for a while. Or certain ones where the father was gone when they were born and then came back into their lives later, or just never came back. There's all kinds of situations. And as Regina Robertson realized that there were many women out there who were prepared to tell their stories, and this is how this book came to be. I highly, highly recommend this one. Very, very good read. Okay, next we have Ayaan Hirsi Ali's Infidel, My Life. This book right here, okay, I have to admit that when this book showed up on my book club list, I said, I don't know. I really wasn't sure about really picking this one up because I was afraid, oh no, it's going to be one of those, you know, I don't know, kind of reads that feels very voyeuristic in a way, and I don't like reading things that have this feeling of voyeurism. But let me tell you, this right here, I picked this up for my book club and I started reading it and I was sucked in so bad. Like, I really read this one quite quickly, considering how tight the words are on the page here. This is some solid text happening in this book. But I was completely sucked in to her story, and the way she goes about explaining it is very personal and very intimate, and really a worthwhile read because you learn something about, like, because it's focusing around the Muslim religion in Ethiopia, and I am not aware of, you know, a lot about that. Even though I lived in Egypt for 3.5 years, but you know, the way Egyptians practice Islam isn't necessarily exactly the same as the way they do in Ethiopia. So I found this totally edifying. Some people find this confronting in a bad way, but it is her point of view. It is her story. It is what happened to her. So I cannot say bad things about that. I was here for listening to her story. It is very, very, very interesting, and I highly recommend you pick this up. This was like a 5-star read. Just really, really good. Okay, next book on the list, I have Not That Bad, which is also another essay collection, and it's Dispatches from Rape Culture by Roxane Gay. Now, this book right here, wow. It took me a month to read this book. Not because it was a bad book, because it was an excellent book, and because it took me through some stuff, okay? Reading about women and men who have had to go through the experience of rape is just the most awful, disgusting thing. And when you read this book, all you want to do is protect every young woman or young man in your life. You want to protect them, and you want to give them, you know, the tools to protect themselves. This book had me in all my feelings. I think I was, you know, I posted that I was reading this book, but I wasn't very vocal about it as I was reading it because it took a lot out of me mentally. However, I feel like everybody should be reading this book if they haven't read it. Man, woman, you need to read this book. Completely and totally edifying. I have to, hats off to Roxane Gay for putting this one together. It is an excellent read. Okay, next I have on my list is Hidden Figures, The Untold Story of the African American Women Who Helped Win the Space Race by Margot Lee Shetterly. Now, this is another one that I read with my book club, and it happened to coincide, I think, about the year before the movie was made. And I must admit, the book has a completely different tone than the movie. So yes, I recommend that you read the book because it's going to put you into the mindset that is the work of the workplace that these black women were going to every day. And it also gives you the mindset of how things were working in NASA. And I feel like even though there are moments in the book where it kind of slumps and it kind of gets very technical at times, I still think it's a very worthwhile read because you get this inside information that we can't even imagine, and we understand better what these women were doing, which was just extraordinary for the time. These were really extraordinary women that have had to wait way too long to get recognition. So I highly recommend this one. It's not an easy read, like I said, because of some of the technical stuff they talk about and that kind of thing, but it's well worth the read. You're going to learn some stuff. Okay, next on my list is The Warmth of Other Suns, The Epic Story of America's Great Migration by Isabel Wilkerson. Now, you don't need me to tell you about this one. I've spoken about this one in depth on all my platforms. If you have not read this book, where you been? Where you at? Because this one is probably one of the most interesting nonfictions to read about a part of American history that isn't even taught at school. I highly recommend this one. And the thing about this one is it reads like fiction. Even though it's nonfiction, it reads like fiction. And the wealth of information that she gives in the book, it's like going back to school, but in a nice way. You're going to learn a lot of things, and you're going to find yourself completely absorbed and completely, you know, all the way rooting for the people that she writes about in this book. This definitely 5-star read. Get on it if you haven't read it. And last but not least I have on my list is The Arab of the Future. This is volume 4, and this is the French version. The guy who wrote this book is called Riyad Sattouf, and this is a graphic novel. It kind of looks like this. Alright, now the thing about this is a graphic novel which I think is going to be told in 7 volumes if I'm not mistaken. For the moment, this is volume 4, which is the newest one that's come out. It came out last year in French, so it is not out volume 4 in English. I think you have up to volume 3 translated into English, but keep in mind this has been translated into 10 or 12 different languages. This is the life of Riyad Sattouf, whose parents, so his mom is white French and his dad is from Syria, and he has a little brother. And you follow this relationship between his mother and father, and then he comes into the picture, and then his little brother, and they move around to lots of places. So you see like life in Syria, you see them living in Libya, them living in France and Brittany. Really, it is someone talking about their family story, and he is being as honest as he can, and he does it in a humoristic fashion. There's some things that just make you laugh. There's some things that make you just go, oh Lord Jesus, what is this man? Because his daddy is just like racist as I don't know what, and a little cuckoo. But I feel like it's one of those memoirs that is told in an endearing way. And I tell you, one of my favorites in graphic novels is the Arab of the Future series. Get your hands on the Arab of the Future. I have been telling people to get their hands on the Arab of the Future. So good. The drawings are very simplistic, but he has this way of using the backdrop color, like it's blue, like when they're in France. And, you know, you have also pink and red for different things. I won't tell you for what, because this is volume 4. But in the other ones, he'll have like beige, like when they're in, you know, Libya. Just, it's just really, really good, and makes you think about people who grow up with parents from 2 different cultures, and the adaptation and the difficulty, but also the richness of this, you know, whole thing. So I definitely highly recommend this. Excellent series. If you've been reading it, look out for volume 4 in English. I think it should be coming out pretty soon. It takes maybe about a year for these books to translate, and I'm hoping that next year in 2020 that volume 5 will come out. So that's all I have for you today. This was my last book. Let me know down below if any of these you've read and you enjoyed, or which ones you're interested in picking up. Yeah. Happy Nonfiction November.